Okay, we need to talk about green energy because green energy is bad for the planet, the environment, whatever you want to say it. This is why you will never need to listen to anyone talking about, I care about the environment. No, you don't. Green energy is bad. You are bad for enabling it. It is what is wrong with society. It is a band-aid for your feelings. It is not practical. Let me explain to you, Ontario, Canada, anyone else in the world, it's all the same thing. Green energy is a scam. Now, are there real environmental problems? Yes, pollution, eutrophication, this, that, we agree. But what we do is we take all our environmental problems, we lump them into one. We then call that global warming. And then we say global warming can be determined by CO2. We have everything is to one, there's a univariate analysis, it's all about the CO2. And then how do we fix this? Well, we need green energy plans, and politicians just propose green energy. So here's how it works in Canada, Ontario specifically. We implemented a green energy plan, and our green energy plan increased emissions by 50% and made everything crazy expensive, if you remember Ontario. Now, it's probably similar to how it works there. Let me just explain Ontario's green energy plan, because the same idiots who created it, the ones who aren't in jail for the gas plant scandal, they're now in charge of Canada's green energy plan. So how did this thing increase prices and emissions? Because they are dumb. So, we love to subsidize green energy because green is clean and conservatives are being. And what's going to save the planet? It's the sun and the wind. We have windmills. Woo! Every windmill you see is a moral and environmental disaster. The windmills are dumb. So, at best, windmills are 30% efficient. Solar energy at best is about 70% efficient. Now, here's what we did in Ontario. We highly subsidized to like the tune of 40 times the market rate wind and solar energy. Now, that's bad. What's even worse is we mandated that that energy must be used on the grid. So problems got even worse. Here's how one-way emissions were increased. Okay, the most efficient way to get between point A to point B if you're driving there is cruise control, a steady pace. Right? And natural gas and nuclear energy, you could put it at a steady input pace. You need X amount of kilowatt hours per whatever. You can just steadily do it at that rate. But here's the problem. We had to mandate that the green energy would be used on the grid. So when there was solar or wind power there was too much, we had to shut down production. When there was too little, we had to increase production. The way you think of this is Ontario was inefficient anytime it met one of these categories. Too windy, not windy enough. Too sunny, not sunny enough. That is, by my calculations, pretty much all the time. So this is one of the reasons why our gas plants had to, be crazy. Now, side note. The green energy that is produced through wind and solar, we have to use it, which means it's stored. But there's no efficient storage of green energy, which means for every kilowatt hour of wind energy or solar energy produced in Ontario, we needed 1 kilowatt hour of nuclear energy or natural gas to store that, which means every ounce of energy you produce through green wasn't even green because we needed the standard fossil fuels or nuclear energy just to save it and then get it to market. So there was absolutely no gain. Nothing was gained from any of these windmills. Just to start. All right, now, of course, it was then worth it to do this for the companies because, again, that little green energy, you save it, you use all the natural gas to save that 1 ounce of green energy because that is worth 40 times market rate. So that was another problem. So this was so expensive and worth it because we over-subsidized it. And also all the companies getting the subsidies were like Samsung was getting these things. Yes, Samsung's going to build windmills to save the world. If you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. Or you're Justin Trudeau, or Kathleen Wynne, or Dalton McGuinty, or Gerald Butts. Anyway. So in order to mitigate some of these problems, because we want to be more efficient, we were in the middle of an energy crisis, you remember? People were paying over $1,000 a month for hydro or energy costs, whatever you call it, wherever you live. Over $1,000 a month bills for some people on their electrical bill. Major crisis. During this crisis, we were paying Quebec to take energy off our hands. Paying Quebec. Is that insane? It is friggin' insane. Here's why. So again, that green energy stuff is so over-subsidized. And in order to mitigate some of the emissions loss of the constant start down of the production in natural gas and nuclear energy, what they decided to do is just have a natural, okay, we'll just do it efficiently. but they would create energy surpluses, right? But you had to use the green energy. So we had this other energy that we didn't know what to do with and weren't allowed to use. So we would just either give it away for free, sell it below cost to America, and at some point Quebec knew this and would take advantage of our stupidity because you weren't allowed to use the energy. We would have to pay Quebec to take our energy from us when we had an energy crisis because green energy and it increased emissions. My point. People, especially the left, care more about looking like they care about the environment than they care about the environment. If we had anyone in the Liberal Party that cared about the environment, Catherine McKenna, Climate Barbie, doesn't care about the environment. If she really felt it in her heart that we need to care about the environment, there is no way she would let a program go that wastes billions and billions and billions of dollars just to make the planet even worse. If you want to talk about, here's one of my favorite fun facts. So if global warming is the number one problem in the world, and CO2 emissions are the way we measure global warming, and we have to meet the Paris Accords to save the world, then the only logical thing to do is throw a global coup, destroy the UN and all the governments, and create a world dictatorship where Donald Trump is emperor of the world. It's the only thing that makes sense. Because he's the only one who met those targets. How did he do it? Because of natural gas. Coal is less efficient, right? You know, you get 30% of the energy in coal when you burn it, around that. The rest of that is waste or emissions, whatever you want to call it. Oil was amazing because it was so much more efficient than coal. You would get like 75% of what you burn actually turns into energy, right? The thing that makes things move. The rest of it turns into emission, waste, pollution, whatever you want to call it. Natural gas came along. It's amazing. It's like 99% efficient. Most of what you burn in natural gas gets turned into energy. So when Trump came in and took all the regulations away and let people switch to natural gas, which makes you more money and is better for the environment, well, their CO2 emissions started to go down because they liberalized the economy, saved the world. But green energy destroys the planet. Green energy destroys our economy. But it makes you feel good. So you get to call me a racist for saying the windmills must be nuked. We got to kill all the wind. If you don't support, don't. Like the video, you can comment, but don't even subscribe to the Patreon in this video. If you're motivated by this video, I appreciate you wanting to go Patreon and PayPal. Just destroy a windmill. Just get out there with your homeboys and just knock down a windmill. All right? I'm openly advocating for the destruction of all windmills to save the money and the planet and my sanity because we have to nuke these windmills. Thank you so much for listening to my rant. I hope the government doesn't come for me on that one, but who knows? They might.